You're all set.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll start the meeting. It's at 7:03. Welcome, everyone. Everyone's had a chance to take a look at the agenda. It is the same somewhat truncated agenda that we normally run that's as we used last time. Hopefully in September, we'll all be able to get back together face to face, and we'll run our more normal meetings. Are there any citizens' comments? Okay, so then moving to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds like the minutes are accepted. Molly, any correspondence?
Yes, actually, I have a couple of thank you cards from some of our clients from the COVID assistance. So one wrote, Team Madison, your angels, we thank you so much for always being there in need, a very thankful family. We got a postcard that said, thank you for the generous check. And Crystal tells me that probably of the 30 plus applications.
Oh, there are. Oh, that's because I don't have a picture on mine.
So Crystal tells me that of the approximately 32 applications we've had so far, she said at least half have reached back out in a separate way to thank us for our generosity.
It's very nice of them to do that.
Yeah, she said everybody's been grateful, but and everybody's very grateful at the time of the conversation, but there's been at least half have reached back out separately and on their own to thank us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, terrific. Okay, then moving on to the treasurer's report. Andrea?
Hi, everybody. Balance in our Sunshine Fund is $80 due to a bereavement gift and 2 more donations. And also some tokens of our appreciation and gratitude to our student liaison, who's been so amazing and effective and is graduating and going on to college. And I make a motion to approve the following donation: $4,000 in Stop and Shop gift cards from Neighbor to Neighbor, and $5,000 for camp scholarships from Neighbor to Neighbor.
Can I have a second on that?
I'll
Second.
Second, okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Scott, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, if I could just chime in. So the $5,000 for camp scholarships, that's a pretty typical, incredibly generous, typical type of donation from Neighbor to Neighbor. They support us every year in providing camp scholarships, and we this year, we're not only looking at camp scholarships, but if families need assistance for like childcare or anything that sort of covers childcare or supervision of children when parents need to go back to work. So we've been in discussion with Neighbor to Neighbor about that. Right now, we're putting what we would normally put in for a donation into our scholarship fund, and we'll see what needs to come up. The $4,000 are for gift cards. Madison Community Services is going to be getting back online, I believe, this week or next week, actually.
I think it was maybe even last week.
Yeah, I know June. That's right. Yeah. And it'll be a little different, that people will be able to make an appointment and drive up, and they'll get groceries put into their cars. We were getting dangerously low on food gift cards. So again, reached out to Neighbor, and they generously donated a variety of of amounts and gift cards so we can continue to supplement for people if they can't get to the community services, or if there's food that they need that isn't provided by community services. And thank you to Neighbor.
Yeah, they're just tremendous organization.
Yep.
So any other comments? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
It's so much more difficult on this way. Yeah. So it passes. If anybody doesn't agree, they can yell. So it passes unanimously. So moving to the director's report.
Well, so first of all, it's just so wonderful to see all your faces again. I can't tell you how grateful I am for everyone, and to have this opportunity to see everybody, even if it's through virtual means. And without getting into how things are going to go over the summer or into next year, we're hoping we're going to have something closer to normal as we get back to in September. This will be our last board meeting for this academic year. We typically break in the summer months. Most of that's because most of us are not always around as much. So not knowing how things are going to go in the fall, if they are similar to now, then we'll continue on virtual means. But again, just to welcome everybody. In my report tonight, I'm going to touch on a few things. I'm going to let the board members, if there's questions or things you want me to go into more detail on, I'll be happy to do it. As it may not surprise you to hear, we could spend hours talking on any number of issues. The school right now, in terms of looking for a new superintendent. I can share with you, those of you that either work or are very close to the school, that there's always turnover from year to year. This year, it may be a little bit more significant because there will be two, maybe will retire, feeling comfortable for whatever they're, going to be due. Certainly there's already been turnover and some, people moving on from positions. And I just know personally people that we considered allies in the school system, namely our superintendent, Tom Screese, and that change is going to be huge. So again, that's one issue. Certainly there's been a lot going on in terms of our services and with the unrest across the country and the pandemic and murder hornets. Again, just to point that out as something that's maybe on the horizon. I won't go into much detail with that either. I want to acknowledge our two student reps and just to say thank you to both of them. They've really done a great job as a pair this year. We'll point out that our junior student rep, Jake, was awarded the MYFS Humanitarian Award at our ceremony last, when was the, God, it seems like forever ago. Was it last Tuesday?
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was last week. And I think, I'm not sure how many of you were able to show up for that. That was also a virtual ceremony. If you did tune in, it's one of my favorite nights of the year. It's just a very touching night. On display are these wonderful students who've been involved in our programs, but just great students, great people. And through the ceremony, you hear not just of what they've done, but you just see the connection that they have with our staff and how important that is, how endearing that is, and how that relationship really is used to be so helpful in ways. Also awarded this was the award that we named in honor of Taffy, so that it recognizes a youth volunteer that has lived a life of honesty, integrity, and responsibility, and demonstrated it to the greater community. So again, wanted and Jake and our student reps will have a chance to talk now. Because it's my turn to talk, but they will have the student rep report coming up. And before we get to that, I also want to talk about Lauren Kaplan. So Lauren is our senior student rep. This is actually Lauren's last meeting as a student rep. She's served for her 2 years. I'm gonna, so you're all gonna see this screenshot. So that's Lauren's Shero Award. This was an award that was given out of a collaboration. It was really anchored by the Women and Family Life Center in Guilford. It was really their idea, and they had reached out to mostly youth service bureaus along the shoreline, us being included in that. And there was a program that was developed to acknowledge the contributions of women, adult women, as well as youth women. And so this is the inaugural season of the Shero Awards. And there was intended to be a process by which people would be nominated, and then there was going to be a ceremony back in April, which of course didn't happen. And they decided just to take everybody who was nominated and just acknowledge them all through an online, through a virtual ceremony that occurred last Saturday. Rosa DeLaura gave the keynote. But I want to highlight Lauren, who was acknowledged, was nominated and acknowledged as a community Shero. We're very proud to be a part of all of her efforts, and we're all very blessed by everything that she's done. And you can see on your screen some of the things that she had done as a part of being nominated, including volunteering in a soup kitchen, starting the School Kindness Project, serving as a peer advocate, and certainly her contributions as a board rep. So thank you, Lauren. So as much of a clap as we can do.
Yeah.
And again, like we will, when we get to the student report, we do have, they'll have a chance to talk, both of them, and we may have, Tony will have some thoughts for Lauren as well, and maybe a gift or two. Right, Tony?
Great. Yep. That's right.
All right. Thank you. In terms of the report here, so again, like all of our programs and services are continuing pretty much 100% through virtual mediums. So all of our clinical services continue to run on a HIPAA compliant Doxy virtual platform. All of our positive youth development groups, they continue or have continued. They're now winding down where they have to because of the end of the year. I know that some of the group continue in some form over the summer, depending on how the kids want to, the students want to continue on, and if we're able to. Our staff came back to the office as of June 1st. So we're all actually back in. We have maybe 1 or 2 people that have gotten special permission for their circumstances to continue some remote work, but the majority of the staff are back in their offices. And what we did to be as safe as we can, we spread everybody out. So everyone came back, but if you shared an office, we found a singular space for that staff person. It was actually an interesting process to go through. We do have offices in Memorial Town Hall, but for example, Memorial Town Hall does not have Wi-Fi. So for anybody who couldn't connect over their desktop computer in Memorial Town Hall, we then had to make sure that we accommodated with a space that they could use either a town laptop, which were hard to come by, or their own device in order to do some of their virtual work. So we have every room in our building full, and we had 2 people over in Memorial Town Hall. And then we actually got help from Austin Hall over at Senior Services. He provided us with 2 spaces for 2 staff people over there, where one of, again, because of the Wi-Fi issue for one of them. So that's how we did it. The transition, I can tell you that there were people on my staff that were chomping at the bit to get back, and if they could be meeting people safely, they would. They know they can't. I have some people that are very anxious and nervous about interacting personally, in person with the public, and we're anxious about just coming back to work. So we've We've done what we can to accommodate everybody and support everybody in the process. My guess is that's similar to what everyone, if any of you that are returning to work or however you're going about, I mean, these are pretty, unfortunately, pretty typical workplace issues nowadays. The town is looking at July and thinking about how it may open up more to the public. I'm going to tell you that I think that there's trepidation on behalf of a lot of town employees, so I'm not sure how that's gonna go. I'm aware that the public and certainly aspects of town government, that the public is probably going to be more vocal, if not demanding, to have better access, including some of the offices at town campus. So there's a lot that has to get sorted out between now and then. And our for youth and family, since we can continue to do almost everything we do virtually, you know, we're going to keep that up as much as we can. There may be things that we think we can do safely with the public, you know, if we have larger rooms or can do things outside, you know, that we're going to entertain doing. And all this will have to play out as we get more into June and then into July. I've been asked to be a part of a long-term recovery committee. So the town has centralized a committee to help organize and facilitate the public input and the public questions about certain areas. So this is an overall town committee. So they're looking at everything from sports to how they're dealing with different businesses and different organizations and activities. So myself and Austin Hall, the senior services director, we're in charge of the area known as community support. So our charge has been to find basically put together a group of community members that represent nonprofits, the interfaith community, the civic group, like that's the Rotary and the Women's Club, and charitable organizations. So we have a large group that we've now identified a few people, and we're starting to talk with them and help identify and facilitate input into the town where there's questions about reopening, and getting important information, guidelines, sometimes permission back to these groups to continue to reopen. So that's a mouthful. I don't know if that makes sense to everyone or anyone. But you know, again, like just a piece of what's going on, and a piece that actually feels very weighty. There's a lot of energy and need for some people to get going, and listen, I'll tell you, a lot of it's economic. Even like so, the Arts Barn is one of the nonprofits that we are working with and trying to facilitate information to. They've lost a lot of their revenue because they haven't been able to run any programs, and they are in that kind of, again, nebulous area. So they are not a town official department, but they do use town property, and they are funded partially by the town. So they do need permission from the town to do a lot of what they do, and the town is still figuring out like what's okay and what's not okay. So there's pressure on the Arts Barn to get going and get like their camps, you know, going, and the guidance and things like that still has to get all worked out. So it's that's been interesting, to say the least. I want to tell you, in terms of our social services, so we continue to run a COVID impact program. So that's a cash assistance. People can apply. It's very straightforward. So far, we've just in that program, I think we're around the $13,000 mark right now. We've run it for approximately 5 weeks, I believe. And it's around 26 separate households that we've helped just with that particular fund. But we've helped additionally through the discretionary fund too, for certain circumstances beyond just COVID. So we're going to continue to run that program until the funding runs out. We have an agreement with Neighbor to Neighbor around what that dollar amount is. And we also have had discussions with Neighbor to Neighbor about other ways in which we may partner with them to help, depending on how the needs come up. We are concerned about childcare. I think I mentioned that already. But we have yet to hear that that's a huge need or how that need is going to manifest. So we're going to keep our ears out, and certainly I would open this up to any of you if you're hearing of a need, if people are expressing, whether it's access to where camps need, do we know where camps are that maybe are accepting applications, or providing their programs, or if it's a question about can we help pay, can we help fund some of these things for parents or for families, please let me know, and we'll do what we can to help. And we may develop more financial assistance programs if we get enough information and we can define enough of a need to make a program. If there's not a big need, then we help people individually, and that's how we do it. I'd like to tell you that at the beginning of this year, I brought up that we were trying to define a domestic violence program that would look something like a housing subsidy program, again, partnering with Neighbor to Neighbor to fund that. So we worked throughout the year to pull this together and to write it. And then, as everything came to a crashing halt in March, we weren't able to kind of fine tune the language around the program. But we did have one situation in social services where we felt like it would be a fit to help. So even though we didn't have a formal program, we worked with Neighbor to Neighbor, and we started a pilot to assist subsidizing housing to help one person get out of their situation and be able to afford a rent on their own away from an abusive situation. And we've had 2 more people identify just through our normal social services work, and we're going to likely help them as well. So these are 2 more situations where we have an individual living in an unsafe situation, is stuck because they can't afford to leave, and we're going to be able to subsidize. That's our plan. It's not done yet. The ink's not dry on those 2, but we're in the process of figuring that out and helping them subsidize housing. So, even though we don't have the program finished yet, the needs don't stop. So we just, again, that's how we operate and try to figure that out. All right, in terms of our summer programs, our 2 big ones from year to year, our community services program and summer youth employment. So the grant that pays to reimburse the town to place kids in jobs over the summer has not yet been released. As you might again imagine with the state, everything's a big mess. There's also concern about having placements for young people. There are companies that would have normally, businesses that would have normally provided spots for job placements for teenagers that may not be able to do it for all of the obvious reasons. So far, we have commitments, I think, from 1 or 2 businesses that would work with us again this year, but we're not sure that we're going to have the businesses, and we're also not sure we're going to have the funding. So we're going to give it another week and see how this plays out, but we may need to rethink how summer youth employment looks. We may not be able to run the program we normally do. We're not sure about that yet. We're going to give it 1 more week, and then we may need to rethink that a little bit. We do plan on running our community services program. Again, not exactly sure how that's going to look. Typically, that is, placing volunteers all over the community. One of our more frequent placements for that program is like the senior center and helping out with lunches. There may not be lunches at the senior center over the summer. So again, we're going to need to be creative. And there were ideas like maybe having the program run where maybe families can volunteer as a group. And so if we have places to send them, like if there was a home that wanted some yard work, we might be able to have a family go to that and feel safe to do that. With the guidelines and the camps right now, it may be that we can do something that's more where we can have a small group of young people, assuming we can keep them all distant and safe. But again, we need to spend time thinking that through, and it's the safety of our staff as well as the safety of the kids. So that's gonna, win out the day. We're not gonna do anything if we don't feel comfortable. So that's kind of in process. And so there's been a lot of upheaval in the country over these last couple of weeks. And we have, as a staff, chosen to black out our Facebook page as of last Tuesday. And I haven't posted anything else on there. I'll just be honest with everybody. So as I start to write how I feel and what I want to say, I then need to kind of keep myself in some kind of a lane because I'm representing this department. I'm a town employee. I'm very proud of that. And my feelings aren't necessarily representative of everything that I do here, my personal feelings. So we're trying to craft the right message before we go back and say something. I'm going to tell you, I feel very strongly that we, the youth services, we have a role to support the youth, to learn about what's going on, to be aware of it. A lot of that depends on their ages and their interest and their abilities. We have a role to support parents. We want parents to know, as much guidance and as much information and support that they can use. There's always questions about, well, how old is my child and how much should they be seeing or how much should they know? I think one of the things that we'd like to do, and we've been collecting some material, reviewing it, that we would like to post at some point, that would help parents to consider all sides of race issues and how we can help. I think we have a role as civil servants. We are town employees. We are part of a larger town system. I know for myself, as well as some of my staff, we also sit on other statewide committees and boards. So we have a responsibility, I think, as a representative of different systems, as a part of different systems, to have a voice and to be saying, that there needs to be attention and reforms in different areas. And to say, that we're against racism and that we are against police brutality. But we're not against police, and police that are doing very important, very dangerous jobs at times. And that, it's hard to kind of come out on and look like you're on both sides of it. But we know in just our interactions in the town here, and I think just in the interactions of our police liaison on our board, the good work that the police do and the difficult work that they do. So I'm just being honest with everybody. It's difficult sometimes to craft a message because so much work has to be done on race. There's just no other way to say that or to put that. And to acknowledge in Madison, we're probably about 95% Caucasian or white. And that's a number that was from 10 years ago on the census. My guess is it probably hasn't changed much. So a lot of the work in Madison needs to be around becoming aware, the need to emphasize, if you're not sure where you are on this or where your blind spots or your implicit bias may lie, that it's time to listen. It's time to consider what's happening and the voices of people of color and their experiences, and to start in a place where you're listening and being present to their experiences and looking at the history. And hopefully the answers come. Like, I'm not going to pretend I know all the answers, because I don't. But there's work to be done systemically, and there's work to be done, I think, individually. And in some ways they depend on each other, and in some ways we need to look at them separately. So I'm going to find some way to put that on a Facebook page and on our webpage. And I'm also really interested to hear from Jake and from Sarah around some of the other efforts that are being made around the town. Jeremy, if I think you're on tonight, if you feel comfortable and you want to comment on this, I'd certainly welcome that as well. I think part of our role as a town department is to inform and support the public. And that's one that I certainly would like to embrace. Making people aware of what's going on, how they can get involved, and how we're collaborating with everyone. I think that's important. So I will shut up at that point and ask if anyone has, I think maybe the best way to do this, if you have a comment or a thought, to raise your hand, and then you can unmute yourself, or Lauren can unmute you, and feel free.
I'll say thank you. I appreciate that. We did pull together almost 1,000 people on Sunday night to peacefully pay tribute to lives lost during police brutality. And it was a wonderful success considering that we only had 5 days to do it. It was just a first step. It certainly was not done perfectly, but it was a very rough step. We had the most wonderful interactions, not only with the chief of police, but with most every leader in town, whether it was religious, political. People were very supportive of trying to make this a safe way to express our solidarity with this movement. And I'm very happy that it was just a baby step towards what needs to happen.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, it definitely went really well. There was definitely a good amount of students there. There were student speakers as well from Diversity Club. There were, let's see, I want to say 3 or 4 students of color who read the names out loud of people who were killed by police. And there was one other person who is going to be a leader of Diversity Club next year who read the names. And it was really a great thing that got put together in so little time. It was truly like unbelievable. And all the efforts that they made actually set the groundwork for me to take it on, to move it to the next level. And they actually made it so that it would be substantially easier to get a youth-led protest going. So this weekend on Saturday from like 1 to 4 or 5-ish, we're actually having a student-led protest. It is nonviolent, but it is not silent, as this was one of the main things that people didn't like about Sunday's vigil, was the fact that it was pretty quiet. We feel as students that it is necessary and that it is something that we can do to make a difference. So I came up with it in a Madison Diversity and Inclusion Committee meeting. We mobilized immediately. So Unity Club and Diversity Club are actually doing a joint effort here to lead it. And GASP, actually, I talked to GASP, Oak Walker, who's a great person, and they are actually contributing as well. So it's the 3 of us. We're kind of spearheading it. And it's just really cool because it's a joint effort, and it's like basically like the 3 clubs that really work on diversity in the school. And yeah, we're just really trying to do our best. We've got an unbelievable amount of support. We've got a Facebook group, and it has I think by now over 400 members. It is really something else, and we're getting seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, 8th graders. We're getting parents, adults. We're getting town leaders. We're getting congressmen, congresswomen. This is going to be big, and we're doing our best to lead the way and just, make some change, because we think it's the time for it and we're ready to do it. And it's really just like, I'm so grateful to everyone who's helping me with it. It's awesome. We actually ironed out the details with Chief Drum today about the route. And then we're gonna have student speakers. Actually, I'll be speaking at it. I really encourage all of you to come. It would be so wonderful to see all of you there. I know Miss Erin, John Michael Parker, Miss Snyder, you guys all have already been part of it, but I would really, really, really like to see all of you there. It would be fantastic. I think Mr. Buller might already be in the group as well. It just truly, we're making a difference, and we're really trying to, pave the way and give the youth a voice in this. And it's just fantastic. Talked to the rabbi today too. And we're following social distancing measures. We're putting up signs. Masks are required. It's just like, I'm in shock of how well it's actually been going. We've got volunteers galore. It's just like everything's falling in place, and I'm really excited to just go out there and do it.
These students have been putting in tremendous number of hours and holding themselves to an incredibly high standard for never having organized something on this scale before. To say I'm impressed would be such an understatement. It is absolutely incredible what they are doing.
Shoreline Black Lives Matter actually reached out to me today, and they want to have me and the other person who's really like, me and one of the leaders of Diversity Club next year. Actually, we've been like primarily spearheading it. Oak's been working more on Oak and their mom has been like really working on like some of the logistics of it and that kind of stuff. But me and this kid Joaquin have been really spearheading it the most, and they actually asked us to join the list of organizers for Shoreline Black Lives Matter. So that may be something that I take on this summer.
Wow. Jake, that's fantastic. And I think everyone's hearing the announcement, and I can't speak for every single person, but it's what you're doing is phenomenal and impressive and important. And thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jake, could you tell us again when the protest was taking place?
Sure. So it's this Saturday, the 13th, and it is from 1 o'clock to around 4 to 5. We're still not sure exactly when it's going to end, because we don't know how long the march is going to take, but because it's all dependent on how many people are there, and we've never done a march in Madison, so it's all just kind of new territory, and we're all just trying to see what it is. And I can speak to the whole thing about the anti-cops thing. So I don't know if you guys know the reasoning behind it, but the reasoning behind it, it's a focus less on the idea of the cops that and it's more of a focus on the institution. So it's saying how if you have 10 good cops and 1,000 bad, if you have 10 bad cops and 1,000 good cops and no one does anything, you have 1,010 bad cops. That's the idea behind it. I'm not saying anything else to it, but I'm just trying to explain. That's the motivation behind it, is just saying that this institution has been doing this, and police brutality, racial profiling is happening in our world. And that's the response that's happening right now. My protest that we are organizing, the youth protest, it is purely for Black Lives Matter. It is purely for social equality, justice, and just making things right. It is not against police. It is not against anyone. This protest is just purely in support. It is not against.
And where will this begin?
It's starting at the Green and it's ending at the Green. So we're actually going from the Green. We're taking that diagonal street that goes right off the Green. We're marching down West Wharf, and then we're turning on Middle Beach, and then we're going up Island Ave, and then we're concluding at the Green with speeches, and that'll be it.
Okay, and lastly, I just wanted to congratulate Sarah and Jake and anybody else who was involved in the planning and execution of the vigil on Sunday night. It was a very impressive and moving vigil. I've never seen anything like it in Madison in the 30-something years I've lived in Madison, and it's a great first step. So thank you very much for what you did.
And guys, if you hear anyone discussing how the vigil is wrong or how it was a mistake or how it was a screw up, please discourage this from happening. Everything that we're doing is just like, it's all in solidarity. Their first steps are the reasons why the students will take the first steps on Saturday. And we really just need to encourage building each other up and fighting this fight in unity. This is the whole reason behind Unity Club, our slogan, unite to fight. We can't do this without everyone's piece. And for people to trash talk that is just taking away from the whole message of it. We got to work together in this. We're not going to be able to do change. We're not going to be able to accomplish anything if we divide and blame and point fingers. They are the reason why we're doing this on Saturday. And I'm so thankful for every single thing that they did.
Well said, Jake. Kathleen, did you have a comment or a question?
I just want to congratulate Jake and Sarah as well. I thought it was a beautiful night and, peaceful, but there was a serenity about it. I congratulate you as a first step, and we need to do more. And I also want to just thank you, Scott, because you are just juggling so many things with this inside the pandemic, and reopening is not easy. Closing things down is a light switch, and reopening is the rheostat. It's kind of fine tuning, and it's very difficult. So, I congratulate you for everything you're doing to support the town and support our youth, and certainly the stress is exponential. And I appreciate what you and the rest of the Youth Services Board and team members are doing. So thank you.
Scott, I really cannot speak enough on how awesome Crystal and Catherine are too. You have, I'm dead serious right now. You have two of the best people.
I'm not going to argue.
They are two of the best people I have ever met in my life. Like, you guys know how crazy I am with the ideas and stuff. Like, they're the ones who are getting the calls at like 11 o'clock at night, and they're both picking up, like it's who they are. They're just like that kind of people.
Can I just listen?
Fantastic.
Thank you. And I'm just going to go on public record so everybody on the board knows I'm saying this to you. You need to get some sleep, okay? You need rest every once in a while. You're doing great work. Don't stop, but sleep. Okay?
Sleep when I'm dead.
I'm a
Got
mental
work to
health,
do.
Jake, I'm a mental health professional, and I am telling you, I can't write you an order because I don't have an MD, but I know MDs.
And that was free advice, Jake, so I would listen.
No, I'm going to bill them later, Kathleen.
Teams keep their own schedule, but he's absolutely correct. Crystal
Yes.
and Catherine have been phenomenal with the youth in the high school. I am so impressed with them. So
Like, literally, we were making posters for the movement, and what do? They dropped off a pizza for us. Like, it's just like they do things without like asking, without needing to ask. They're just like, you want to talk about people who represent what Mass Youth and Family Services is supposed to represent. It is those two people with undoubt, like absolute uncertain, like it is completely them.
They go the extra step every single time without even having to be asked. They just show up.
I'm so grateful that I got the chance to meet them and connect with them. And it was because of you, Scott, that I was able to do that. And I mean, seriously, 4 months ago, they met with me about starting a youth coalition. Now we already have one made. Like, we're doing good stuff.
So listen, and all jokes aside, I really appreciate that. They work very hard. I'm proud of everybody on our staff and on our board, because I think it's work that we all collectively contribute to. And we'll point out, Catherine and Crystal, I think, get part of the work and do the little things, and hopefully we're all aspiring to do that. Okay, so just being conscious of time, are we? I think that really should conclude my director's report. I do want to get to the students and everything else that they would like to talk about. Are we good with that?
JMP is something.
I'm sorry, there was one more question. Is that what you said?
Oh,
I don't see anything now.
John Michael had a question.
Yeah, JMP.
Conversation we were just having. I just wanted to share some thoughts, but I'd be happy to plug that in later if we want to keep moving. What do you think, Scott?
How are we doing on time? Go ahead.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, I just wanted to thank you, Scott, for what you had shared before, and being aware of time to share voices and not take up space. And I just appreciate how thoughtful you're being, and the way that you're finding how to sort of walk the line in terms of finding a message that's going to be resonant and meaningful. I really appreciate that, and obviously support Jake and Lauren and all the young people that they're doing. I wanted to just very briefly say, because it's been alluded to, just to share with this group, last week on Wednesday, the Madison Diversity and Inclusion Committee was hosting a conversation about anti-racism, which looks at the structural and cultural reasons why racism is so prevalent, and then thinks about ways to proactively work against that. And so the folks that facilitate that group are going to have a conversation and see if anyone wanted to learn and join that and figure out how we can actually do some more action around those ideas. And we were thrilled to have over 70 people join the call. We also were then horrified that someone came on and Zoom bombed that. We didn't take the proper security steps to set that up, which was disappointing. And the facilitators, took accountability for that and learned a lesson there. But it was really upsetting to see someone come in, take over the screen, and just share a lot of really vile content. I think it also sort of then served to fire up a lot of folks by pointing out just how important this work is in this community. And so the Madison Diversity and Inclusion Committee, in partnership with Jake and all the groups that he's a part of, is going to reschedule that conversation and continue the work. And obviously, we encourage everybody that wants to learn and then wants to think about action to be a part of that. Because what I would just say is, it's incredible to see the action that's taking off. And Sunday was so inspiring and heartwarming, as deeply upsetting it was for the fact that we had to be there in the first place. I can't wait for Saturday. And also, I think everyone in this group, by just virtue of us being in on this committee, is really aware of the fact that there are educational, social service, housing policies at the state level, at the federal level, that lead to a lot of the inequality that we see. And when we talk about what is it behind what's going to make a difference, I think, as Jake rightly pointed out, obviously it is so much greater and in many ways separate from conversation around policing or whatever else might be coming up. There's a lot that we need to be doing, especially in the state that we're in, with the incredible income and racial inequality that exists in Connecticut. So I feel grateful for young people to be leading that conversation and to be pushing us forward, and really grateful to be on this group of really thoughtful, engaged people that care about the community, the young folks in our town, where a lot of this gets rooted and takes off. That was what I wanted to share. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And guys,
Yeah, thank you.
Before we got Zoom bombed, I think we were at like 60 people in the conversation, maybe like 15 kids max, I'd say. Like, it was primarily an adult conversation, the usual Madison Diversity and Inclusion Committee. And then after we got Zoom bombed and we got a new link, we got the waiting room figured out and stuff, we had, I want to say, 45 out of 70 members were kids.
It's impressive, and I would point out, I think when clowns, like the ones that, I'll call them clowns, but they're real creeps, do something like that, it often it has the opposite effect. It creates a lot more energy, if not focus, of the side. And would just also point out on the, Jake, you had mentioned about feeling disappointed in having the visual, and maybe it didn't strike the tone you wanted. And I mean, I can hear that. I think what stood out to me about the Sunday rally was the range of ages. Like, you very, very young children and people way older than me. I was right in the middle, but like people way older than I am. But just there was just a spectrum of people of ages that showed up for that. And so, like, having events that maybe strike different tones and pulls different areas of the community together is okay. And be mindful of that when you're thinking of these things. There's going to be different. You'll attract people to what you're doing this weekend that would not have maybe come to the vigil because of the reasons you stated. So that's okay. All right. So since it's my report, I get the last word, and so I'm going to throw it over to Tony. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. And as we move into the student report, on behalf of the board, I want to take a minute to thank Lauren for all the work that she's done. So Lauren is leaving us. This is her last meeting with us. We hope she comes back and gives us sort of an update on how things are going for her when she moves on to the next step of her life. Lauren came in, 2 years ago. Lauren, she has always come in. She has always been prepared. She has always been articulate. She's always been poised. She really has just been a tremendous leader in the community and a terrific representative of the student body. And so I really want to thank you for all the work that you put into this particular position. Lauren, do you want to take a minute and just before we get into these other reports and just talk a little bit about what you're going to do next?
Yeah. So I'm going to UConn next year and I'm really excited. I'm planning on studying biology and I want to end up at dental school, hopefully. And I just want to thank everyone for such an amazing 2 years on the board. I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I've learned so much and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to be here. Also, thank you so much for the picture. It's so cute. I've been wearing it all the time. Thank you for dropping it off. It was so sweet. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
Okay, well, you're welcome. Yeah, and Kristen and Andrea did a lot. So you got that. You got the gift card as well as the regular card. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So Lauren was on behalf of the board. Lauren was given the UConn shirt, a RJ Julius gift card, and then a card from the board. So, but you're welcome, and thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
So then if we could, move into some other things that the students would like to discuss.
Yeah, so I feel like my biggest thing that I wanted to talk about was just like a lot of the seniors, I think, just feel really like forgotten with kind of everything. And like the school, like if I'm going to be completely honest, like has not handled it beautifully with communication or anything. And I mean, I tried to talk about it with Mr. Salutary and I didn't get the best response from him. Like he didn't seem too open to any ideas. And I know it's so hard with like everything with the CDC and like getting things passed and stuff, but like our senior brunch, I'm pretty sure, is we go to the school and we pick up either a breakfast burrito or a yogurt parfait. And then graduation is very unclear. Like right now it's like that we're going to the school in our cars and like like more details are going to be released, but it's not even on the green and it's like going to be one at a time and it's one car per family, which I know that a lot of people were upset about that, especially kids with divorced parents. And then no prom, and then night at hand got moved and now it's not night at hand anymore and it's an event in August, I think, or the end of July. It's unclear what day it is yet, but it's going to be like a field day kind of thing. And like, I don't know, I think just like the senior class has felt like, I don't know, not quite prioritized. Like we've all kind of seen like different things happening in other towns that like, we feel like, oh, why can't that happen here? Like I saw something where like kids went back for like a last day of school and it was just all the seniors and they were socially distant. And then I saw another thing where like they did graduation like far apart. And like I've just seen like a lot of things and like, I don't know, I think a lot of kids have just been feeling kind of like left in the dust a little bit on stuff. I kind of want to try to get a hold of Mr. Salutary before graduation and see if there's anything we can do. But my last conversation kind of, yeah.
You got gypped.
Yeah.
You're muted, Mr.
Yeah,
Bullard.
Who didn't though, right, Jake?
Yeah.
You know, so I my heart goes out to you, Lauren. You worked incredibly hard for this. But you have to understand that nobody wants to put anybody in a situation where people are getting hurt. And nobody's doing this out of anything except concern. And I'm not saying there aren't better solutions, because trust me, I believe that there very well might be, but a lot of people are feeling like they didn't get what they deserved from a lot of different parts of life. So my heart really does bleed for every senior that is not getting the experience that they have actually earned. And I really do feel for you, but I wish there was some magic way we could make it all better. I just don't see that happening. So I encourage you to talk to him. I really do, but it doesn't sound like they're going to be changing on this.
You know, it's just, it's a season of loss. And I think, you know, for the seniors, anyone transitioning from a grade, particularly obviously graduating classes, you know, it's hard. I wouldn't minimize it at all. And you know, you need to express what you need to express. I agree. I think if you can get Mr. Salutary and have a conversation, that's important. And if there's things that we can do to support you and your classmates, you know, beyond figuring out what activities you can do, I think there's a lot of people that are open to that. You know, I think everyone's trying to make the best out of it. That doesn't necessarily make it perfect by far, but certainly opening to make it better as much as we can.
I think it's really tough too, because, you know, it seems like the Board of Ed kind of has their head with like the superintendent stuff, and like there's a big focus on that. It's a really big change in the district. Like there's Corona, there's the Floyd riots, like 2020 has been like an insane year and stuff. And like, I totally understand where Lauren's coming from. Like, it's so hard to feel like people do care. Cause you know, it's like, you know, like you're put in a situation where your senior year is supposed to be your most special year, you know, like you work from kindergarten on every single day in school. And this is the day that you're dreaming of, you know, like the final time when you're going to walk across the stage and, you know, shake his hand. And I think it really is just disappointing, and it's hard for them. And I think if possible, I mean, I don't know, like, I just think it would be interesting if we could brainstorm if there would be any other solutions and alternatives that we could think of that would be better. I mean, I've seen TikToks about, you know, like a principal literally going 400 miles across this area, delivering diplomas by hand because he wanted to make it special. You know, like, I think there is more that we can do. I think we do need to make the seniors a priority. I think the superintendent thing can wait. And I think we do need to focus on this. It's tough. Me and Lauren initially started talking to Mr. Salutary about graduation and that kind of stuff, and it evolved into us talking about the Floyd, right? Like, even our conversation with him got distracted. I mean, it just, like, I think there needs to be an effort by the leaders in town, by, you know, anyone, to just like step up and just communicate how much the seniors are getting gypped. Because you're right, Mr. B, everyone is getting gypped, but I mean, these are the kids, and this is like a huge transition. Like, I'm stressed out about college, and I'm a junior. I can't even imagine what it must feel like to like not get to experience what it's like to leave hand the right way. I mean, they're missing these traditions. Like,
It's true. I had 2 kids graduate this year. I didn't see either of them. You know, so I get it. I understand it. It's sad, and it's in no way fair. It isn't. And there's no but. That's it. That's the end. It's not fair.
I mean,
So as I can tell you that as a part of the long-term recovery committee, I'm a member of the town right now. I'm happy to provide that feedback into that meeting tomorrow. And I can tell you, just hearing the bits and pieces that I've been a part of, you know, everything's being driven by public health policy guidelines that are delivered by the state Department of Education. You know, there's there's just so much that goes into these things, and I think what you're finding is people are weighing on the side of precaution with something that there's no vaccine, and there's just not a lot of good answers to. So it sucks.
so I personally feel bad because Lauren and we came up with a plan that we wanted to do about graduation. And I think that I kind of failed Lauren on that end because I did get distracted. I took up the protest planning. I didn't even think about it, but there was something that we had in mind that we agreed would be special. So actually what we wanted to do was we wanted to reach out to you guys, and we wanted to reach out to teachers and like the Board of Selectmen, Peggy Lyons, Noreen, Board of Ed, all these like really important key people in the town. and we wanted to offer them a chance to make a short little video clip about their advice for the class of 2020 and just film themselves saying it, and just being like, hi, class of 2020, my name's Jake Daniel, I'm board liaison for Madison Youth and Family, and one thing that I think you guys should just think about moving forward is so and so, like some quote, some inspirational advice, something like that, and just like something you could do for the seniors moving forward as just like a nice little way to say like, hi, I'm an important person in town and I am thinking of you. I think that this would be something that will help you in the future.
Jake,
So
just
we were,
let me interrupt you. That's already in process. I've already
oh
made,
yeah,
yeah, I've already done mine. So yeah, nobody, we're doing what we can. I'm not involved in the planning. I have had nothing to do with the decision making, but yeah, that there is something very much like that in process.
interesting.
Yeah.
I guess someone copied us.
Or vice versa, but it's certainly possible. So it's a really nice idea, and it is one of the things that people can do, and it in no way replaces a face-to-face live walk across the stage graduation.
And we were thinking maybe incorporating small businesses in town too, just like people. I know if you do know who's coordinating this, please reach out. But we were also thinking about doing like small businesses like B-Wall or like Ashley's Ice Cream, like just like key mile, like like places in town where like we did grow up, just like cool little spots like that.
So listen, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to volunteer if any of these ideas you want to share with me, and I'll see what I can do to track down if they are in process or get them to people maybe that could help you. And I'm happy to do that. And I just want to, go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry, if you want to share that with me too, because I can tell you that I don't think the Board of Selectmen has been approached. I can tell you for certain that there are no emails in Peggy's inbox asking for her to participate in something like this. And I know that the Board of Selectmen would love to do that. So I'm happy to, since I'm on your meeting and I'm not really technically a part of this, I'm sorry I'm jumping in, but I'm happy to facilitate anything I can between my board and you guys.
Thank you.
So I'm going to follow up with Lauren, and apparently we've now adopted the admin assistant in the select woman's office.
And Jake, I would encourage you to reach out to Oak's mother.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually perfect because I've been in close contact with her. And then I'll convey that to her that you guys, I'll make sure that the board, Madison Youth and Family, the Board of Selectmen, because I want to get as many people in on this as possible. And I think that she does have an educational focus, it seems like an educational standpoint, maybe. And I mean, we were even thinking too, so have all the town leaders, but also have like elementary school teachers and, middle school. I don't know if they're already doing that, but
listen, I want to move it back to Lauren because this was also part of her last report too. So follow up with Jake. I love the ideas. Just get them to me and I'll help coordinate with Lauren. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lauren.
Yeah, that was most of my report. I'm sorry, I just got a little bit emotional about that.
It's all right.
But yeah, thank you though. Thank you for everyone who wants to do stuff and everything. Like that's so great. And I'm sorry. This is really embarrassing.
No, you're fine. We understand. We understand.
Lauren, you've just done an amazing job and you have everything in the world to be proud of. And we're so proud of you. Yeah. And this is a difficult time for everyone, but somehow going through this is going to make you more resilient and give you strength that you never knew you had for your future. And we're so sorry that you feel that you have been robbed of all of these experiences, but you're going to go on to do great, great things. And who's going to be able to say they had a pandemic during their senior year? only this class of 2020. So we are really grateful for your amazing work. So you're going to go on to do great things and you're going to make a great dentist. I can tell.
Just don't forget about us.
I won't. I will not.
Thank you so much for everything, Lauren. It's been such a wonderful experience for us to learn from you.
Lauren, I remember having you in my study hall when you're just like a little sophomore. I think you were a sophomore, and never dreamed you were going to grow up to be, on the same board. And I've always been so impressed by your thoughtfulness and how you really represent, your whole contingency, the whole student population. And it's been wonderful having you on the board.
And you've been a great fellow student rep too. Like, I wouldn't rather have anyone else, like, we've been such a good pair. I'm really glad that I got the chance to work with you.
I thank you guys so much.
All right, Tony, where's Tony? Is Tony still here?
No, he left.
Where did that go?
I have more I can talk about.
Okay, you want to wrap up? So go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on, Kathleen.
Before we end tonight, I'd really like to hear from Jeremy. So I'm not sure where that goes in all of this, but I'd really like to get his opinion as a liaison for the police department.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My opinion, I think every cop feels that what happened in Minneapolis and any police brutality, no one stands for it. And I don't think any cop in their right mind could watch any of those videos of police brutality and say, oh, that was justifiable no matter what. And I think that's everyone's police officer standpoint in the whole thing. And, everyone has the right to protest and speak their mind. But I'll just give an example. On Sunday, when I'm directing traffic to make sure everyone's getting out, freely with the traffic, someone drives by me and calls me a murderer. So, is that something I like getting told that I'm a murderer? But I guess it comes with the turf of being a police officer in this day and age. But, everyone has the right to protest, and I stand for that. And, we're just hoping on everything on Saturday, too, is just peaceful. And I'm sure the whole department will be there. So that's it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
We're making it very clear on our behalf that it is not against cops in any way. This wouldn't be possible without Chief Drum and all the guys who are going to be there, especially if you're going to be there. So we're doing our best. Nothing like ACAB is going to be coming from our clubs. We unfortunately can't, make it a rule that people can't, protest like that. But we are making it very clear that our rules do include not being disrespectful to anyone, and we're doing our best to curtail that. But any of that is
not okay.
Yeah. And the other question I have as the town allows, it was close to 500 to 1,000 people for the candlelight on Sunday. I mean, you can see how disappointed the seniors are, but they won't allow graduation to occur on the town green with social distancing. I mean, has anyone ever asked the town that?
Yes. So
yeah. Do you want me to answer?
Go ahead, Lauren.
So I might have fielded about, 300 phone calls on this exact question for the last few days. I think it's important to understand the difference between what the town did not enforce and what the town allowed. So we didn't allow anything as a town. We did not enforce the restrictions on gathering size on Sunday because we were respecting people's First Amendment rights. Unfortunately, I know that it seems hypocrisy. I know it seems hypocritical. It seems like the town is, changing its mind or only enforcing things at certain points in time. And I totally understand the image of that. But I can tell you that as the town's risk manager, that is not our intention at all. We tried very hard to allow the Board of Education to make a plan that they told us was supported by as many people in the community as possible, including students. And we tried to do that under the guidelines from the state because it is a Board of Ed / town sponsored event. So we have an obligation to protect people there. I know, I know that it seems like the town maybe allowed something for the vigil on Sunday that we're not allowing for graduation. but it's not a matter of what we're allowing, it's a matter of what we didn't enforce. And I hope that that distinction helps a little with the situation. No one at the town level and no one at the Board of Education level is thrilled with these graduation plans. Like, we all feel really bad. None of us are saying this was the best idea. We're just saying this is the best that we could offer at this time with what the state is telling us we are allowed to sponsor. So I hope that that makes sense. I hope that that helps a little bit. I know it doesn't make up for how the seniors feel about being slighted out of their graduation, but you know, I hope that that at least gives you a little bit of perspective on some of the internal conversations that we've been having as an emergency operations center staff and as the long-term recovery committee staff.
Okay. I think Tony did come back. I think he's the phone call at the bottom. Tony, are you with us?
I am, yeah. For some reason, I've lost my internet connection, so I apologize. But yeah, I'm on the phone.
Okay. So I think we're going to pivot back to Jake. You want to finish up the student report?
Sure. So just briefly, you talked about the barn. And I just wanted to say one of my things that like we're planning to do hopefully in the future is to reinvigorate the barn and make the barn great again, like that kind of stuff. Like we just want to utilize the barn more as older youth, because I think it's really undervalued in our community. And I mean, especially with my connection to Crystal now, I mean, she sits on the board of the Arts Barn. So I think she would totally be all for that and would want to help coordinate that stuff. And I think it would be really cool to just get high schoolers back in the barn, or more than there are at least. And then, so I just wanted to tell you guys, next Tuesday, it looks like we're having our interview for this next student liaison. So I don't know if it's exact yet, but it seems like it is.
So we have, so I think the block of time is pretty known right now between the three of us. We have 3 applicants, 3 sophomore applicants to be the junior student rep next year. Our process is to interview each, and so they apply. We have sophomore peer advocates who can apply for this position, and then we try to narrow it down to 2 or 3. This year it's 3, and we'll interview those applicants. We have a list of interview questions. Actually, Jake and Lauren were the first ones to go through this process, and it worked out pretty good. So yeah.
There's only 3. I thought there were 4.
There's 3 applicants that made it to this level. We were actually trying to get it down to 2, but we couldn't get it down that further.
Okay.
So,
and then I just wanted to briefly update about school stuff. So this is like the last like really tough week. Teachers have to get their stuff in by Monday morning, I was told. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. B. But so basically it's like last minute frantic, turn in everything possible that you haven't done, get it done. I mean, it's a lot better now for sure, just because it's not really in the thick of things anymore. I think one of the things moving forward that we really need to focus on is the student feedback, like we were talking about, and also coordination with other teachers, I think is going to be a big thing. Because like my schedule personally, I have like basically 2 big projects due tomorrow. I have an essay and a project, and they're both due at the exact same time, the exact same day. And I had a UConn exam on Monday. It's just like the spacing could be better. And it's just tough to really try to get everything done when you have so much. I mean, it is a lot of work still, but you know, we're trying our best to just finish out the year strong. The UConn exams have actually, I think the UConn exams have actually been administered really well. We did, so the last one we didn't use a webcam. This one we did use a webcam, and I think it went well. kids aren't really stressed out about that. Like I said, the AP chemistry model, actually, in my opinion, was probably one of the best planned classes in social distance learning. So I am trying to communicate with Mr. Salutary moving forward, just on what I think we could do moving forward. And we're having like surveys next week, I'm pretty sure, just on what works, and you're meeting with classes and just talking about that stuff. And really just trying to focus on establishing an open line of communication with Mr. Salutary, and hopefully Scott, which I'm sure he will, going into the summer, because I think we talked about some stuff that we could do that would be really exciting if we are able to start school on time, and even if we aren't, maybe doing it later. Just like cool stuff to get Madison Youth and Family more well known, I would say, and this like more widespread to the kids. And yeah, in the past fail grade thing policy came out, if you guys are wondering. And for summer work, this company has been reaching out to me, Vector. They are harassing me for employment. So I don't know if you guys want to look into that, but they are like Facebook messaging, like they're like, let's go, submit your application. I'm like, Jesus, please, I'm busy. And they said that they have pretty flexible hours and stuff. It would be like, I think they have a variety of jobs available, but they were talking about how you can work from home if need be. The base pay is $17 an hour, which is like, and they said they had very flexible hours. So maybe that could be a outlet going forward. There are a lot of internships that were canceled. Me and my friend did apply for one at Yale, and we were denied because they're not letting people into labs. I don't know, maybe Madison Youth and Family could figure out internships or something like that. I mean, maybe something that you need help with, we can figure out a way for youth to help and also get credit as like an internship. Like, I don't know, like social media, for example, like literally just like having someone talk about like the ways that kids use social media and like, you know, how they put information out, how they think it's most effective, and in return getting that opportunity to intern. It's just like a thought, but
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And we're moving from reporting to brainstorming, and I think there'll be a time for that, Jake, and appreciate your ideas and your thoughts, and we just need to, you know, I think hone in on where we want to go, and then move the work forward. Is there anything else tonight that you want the board to be aware of or want input on?
I mean,
jump in. I just want to thank you guys so much for all the nice messages. Like, it means so much to me, and I'm sorry it's so unlike me to break down like that. And it just, but thank you guys so much, and thank you so much for being so supportive of me for the past 2 years. Yeah, I just wanted to say.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lauren.
So then with that, one of the things that, you know, is just we draw this meeting to a close and we break for the summer. If there are any issues that come up that requires the board to get together, we'll certainly send out a note and notify everyone. One of the things that I have offered to Katie Stein and the Board of Ed is our board's support and help on either communicating a message or crafting a message, whatever way they want us to support going into next year, the opening and support for the schools, however that's done. And so if anything develops on that, then we would also get together and communicate. Yeah. Is there anything else, any other business?
Could you just clarify that? I didn't understand that last piece.
Yeah, so right now there's a lot of decisions to be made in terms of how the schools or what we open up or what we do in September, right? It's not quite clear. Are we going back? Are we not going back? If we go back, how will it be? And so what I offered to Katie was that any way that our board could help in that process or in the communication of what ends up being decided is that we would do that either as the whole board or we could put together a subcommittee.
Got it. Thank you.
I was thinking about this summer reaching out and talking to Miss Stein and just establishing a good relationship with her too, because I think that it would be a really valuable relationship to have. And I know personally, I'm going to try to work on something over the summer. I'm going to try to work on a communication with the Board of Ed liaison. I think that there's a lot of power in student liaisons, and I'm actually going to try to get a liaison in every board in town if possible. Just spreading the student voice and getting it out there. I'm really going to try to make that happen. And I think that starts with me having a good relationship with the Board of Ed liaison and just working with them instead of against them. And then hopefully, if we do manage to have liaisons in all these boards, having the liaisons convene and just talk about how we can help each other out, what we can bring to certain boards, and really just building the community in town through the youth voice. And that would be pretty powerful, I think. And it would definitely help to make youth feel more valid. And it would also provide more opportunity for youth. So I don't see how we could go wrong with that, really.
Yeah, that would probably be a big help and a big support for you. Yeah. Anything else? Thanks, Jake. So anything else, any other business before we draw this meeting to a close?
Again,
nothing, then
I'm sorry, Tony. I just want to say thanks. Please just keep an eye out for our posts on Facebook. And, you know, if there are things that they're going to be looking at for us budget-wise next year. I think I've mentioned those. I'm not going to go into those now. But we just, when we come back, we're going to have a lot of unique challenges likely still with the pandemic. Certainly, there'll be questions and ways of looking at youth and family services. So just keep an eye out for us over the summer. When we're doing things, we'll let people know. If there's questions or areas where you want to help out or get more involved, please let us know.
We can work,
thanks to everybody.
We can work as youth, you know, we can rally the youth who are all benefiting from Madison Youth and Family Services. Let's get peer advocates, let's get Valor, let's get me and whoever's the next person, all the people in Mentoring Matters, like the girls group, whatever. Let's get them all together. Like this, we need to preserve the funding. We don't need less funding, we need more funding. So we need to make sure that we're getting this, and we got to do everything we can. So
thank you.
Let's try to rally that as much as possible.
Thanks,
I
Jake.
also lastly just want to say, Jake, I'm so proud of you and all the work you've done. You amaze me every single day, and I thank you for being so supportive and being so amazing. And I can't wait to watch and see everything you do. So I just wanted to say that too.
Thank you for everything you've done. You've been a great mentor.
And with that, closing on a very positive note,
Yep.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Lauren, for everything you did tonight.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Scott, Tony.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good summer.
Goodbye.
Too.